I'm really excited today because I might have just had my best Shima game, at least recently. This was an absolute blast to play, and it's a ship I really don't play all that often because it can be a little boring to be just a torpedo boat with lackluster guns and trying to play from stealth, but my goodness, Shimakaze is that classic hidden menace. This ship is so good at playing from stealth and impacting the game through other means than just firepower, and it's really fun to play. So today I'm actually using the legendary mod. This is something I got very recently, or relatively recently. Shimakaze is a ship that can benefit from this legendary mod. It gives you much better torpedo reload, resulting in sooner torpedo salvos into a game, and obviously more torpedoes. And we're going to make some excellent use of it here. But the turret traverse, or the torpedo tubes traverse, is much, much worse. So that's the bit of the trade-off there. But getting these torpedoes out early results in this poor Stalingrad, yeah, taking 3 and going down. So now we can push in. Of course, me playing so passive here is a result of the radar being on this flank, as well as there being a carrier around. It's important to play passive, but now that I know that this Holland doesn't have much support from his team, I'm going to push in. My team's going to be pushing in with me, and right here, I'm just giggling. This is the evil laughter time where we just keep the Holland permanently spotted. We don't shoot, we just keep him permanently lit and force him to run away. And this is so much fun. One of the best parts about Shimakaze is just forcing people away like this. And you can only do it in ships with really good concealment. You need 0.3 better, I would say. It's harder to do with less than that. I'm going to start opening up since the carrier definitely is going to be dropping me and spotting me. Shimakaze guns are no joke though. I think if you get good at using these guns, this ship can be a very devastating gunboat. Look at that, 2,000 damage in that salvo. The DPM is not great, but the alpha damage is where this thing really shines. And of course, being able to get the drop on the enemy ship since, well, you have better concealment. So I'm going to break off the engagement here. This guy's broken 2 things on my ship and lit 2 fires already, so yeah, we don't want to keep engaging like that. We use our repair and our smoke screen to break detection, and now we can go back to playing our little spotting game like we were doing earlier on, since the carrier is now gone and our Hindenburg is pushing up with us. So a very easy way to deal with enemy destroyers who are caught out. It's a little harder to do when you're kiting away since, well, certain destroyers are just faster than you. But here we can control the engagement distance completely since we know the Holland is just going to be running away. And here we can see him pointing his guns at us, but he turns away right away after being spotted. He was probably looking this way because he was torping, more than likely, but he turns away as soon as he's spotted because he knows he's on low health and that I have some support. And this makes him a very, very easy kill to pick up. And honestly, that's one of the best parts about Shimakaze. It's not the best gunboat, but it can absolutely deal with enemy destroyers with its guns. So a great start, clearing out the flank for our team, and of course, I did get lucky that the carrier didn't just focus on me. He came by a couple times, but to not have the constant focus of the carrier is pretty nice. The other thing we're going to see now is we're going to catch a lot of broadsides, and there's a little bit of luck to catching broadsides in the Shimakaze, but honestly, a lot of it comes down to your skill in positioning, knowing what enemy ships are going to do before they do it, and then torping what they're about to do. Of course, having RPF is pretty nice on a ship like the Shimakaze that tends to outspot most things. We can also use this RPF to torpedo from time to time. Since I know the Monty's not going to be in range, and I'll probably be reloaded by the time I deal with him again, I send some torps at the RPF locator, and yeah, that's painful. This poor Harugumo. So we're going to open up. Honestly, though, I don't think I end up getting this kill. Yeah, pretty good alpha damage, but not quite enough to finish him in one salvo. And I've got a lot of teammates backing me up, which is why I'm able to push so aggressively. I'm using my rudder and my speed here to try and dodge. We take a bit of a Venezia sap salvo, but not too bad. And being able to use your rudder and your propulsion is a great way to dodge things. It makes it very hard for enemies to hit you. Now here's what I'm talking about when I mean people going broadside, but positioning yourself in a smart way to catch their broadsides. This Montana is now pushing into 2 of my teammates, And, well, there's actually 4 of us here, but 2 of us aren't being spotted right now. So I'm trying to get into this Montana player's head. What's he gonna do? Well, he needs to get away. He needs to turn out and start kiting. We notice his guns are on the right-hand side of his ship, so he's more than likely going to turn left to get away, since he wants to shoot his guns as well. So he's making the predictable turn that we were waiting for. You notice I was just waiting for him to start that turn, and then I launched the torpedoes a little ahead of the gray marker, since, well, the ship is going to get a little farther away from me if he turns like that. He definitely slows down in a turn, so we don't want to lead too far ahead. And yeah, this is going to result in some pretty nasty damage on this poor Monty. In fact, he even turns back in to try and dodge the homing submarine torps. Yeah, and there's our first dev strike. That is, of course, something that the Shimakaze is well known for. You catch a battleship broadside, it's pretty much dead. Moving ahead, though, now I'm trying to catch more broadsides. So our Republic and the Colombo pushing into their own spawn. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit hard to catch, especially since I'm assuming they're going to turn away at some point, since our Monty is pushing relatively aggressively, and I'm assuming there's going to be some submarine pings going in. So that's why I'm not shooting my torpedoes at this Republic. But this Venezia is close enough that if he turns away, I'm still going to be able to hit him. And he's stopping. Oftentimes, a stopping Venezia will pick up the pace again relatively quickly, but this is just a tactic to dodge salvos in the Venezia, since it's quite maneuverable. So I put my torpedoes a little bit ahead, and then I turn away, because I want to get this cap, and I don't want to potentially get spotted and absolutely nuked by the Venezia. If you guys missed my video last week on the Venezia, yeah, that sap does some nasty things to destroyers. So we're trying to play it a little bit safe here. There's really no point in staying too close. The other thing is, I want to potentially set up my next torpedo salvo. I'm looking at the Yamato in the C cap, if you're wondering. This Venezia does start to turn away, but at this point, I think he's going to drift into at least one of these. And yeah, that is another dev strike. Up to 154k damage. And it's not done yet. We still need to deal with this poor Yamato. And this guy probably should have been aware of my positioning at this point, and certainly in the future here, the carrier is actually going to come spot me right after I launch torpedoes. If you ever see a destroyer turning away from your position and not shooting his guns, he happens to get spotted like I'm about to here, 100% chance he launched torpedoes at your battleship. Just try to maneuver a little bit. But this Yamato, maybe he's just a little preoccupied with the fight going on at sea. I do open up my AA, but I turn it off again relatively quickly. I'm trying to remain undetected as much as possible here. And that little bit of brief time that I was spotted should have been enough to tip off this Yamato. The other thing that's really important to do, guys, is to turn on last known locations. You can see the Midway, the Shimakaze, the Smolensk on the minimap there. They're grayed out. They're not spotted, but it tells me their last known location. These are very important things if you're playing in a battleship and you think you're being torpedoed by someone. It's very useful to know that there was a Shimakaze spotted on your broadside. But this guy didn't know, and that's our Kraken and our Confederates. Yeah, at this point, we've basically won and hard carried this game. Shimakaze is an incredibly good destroyer still. I think this thing is a ton of fun, but it can be a little bit boring when people just camp the back of the map and you don't have torpedo range. I think that something like the gearing is a little better all-rounder, since, while it doesn't have the torpedo power, it does have longer range torps and a little better guns, which allows it to play a little better into these passive games. But at this point, I do make a little bit of an error here. I just wanted to point this out, something that I tend to catch myself doing a lot when I'm playing a destroyer. I'm shooting at a low health target that's going to die before my torpedoes reach him, and I still end up torping, reducing my gun's DPM. Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, but honestly, a really solid game, and Shimakaze is a lot of fun. I definitely do recommend this legendary mod. You just have to know that the traverse of those torp tubes isn't going to be quite as quick. In the future, though, I do plan on releasing a legendary unique upgrade video where I talk about the pros and cons of them and give you my recommendations on which ones are worth it. But that won't come for a little bit. But for now, Shimakaze's pretty nasty. Definitely give it a go if you have it in port, and I think it is still worth grinding in 2022. As for the build I'm running on the Shimakaze, it is a torpedo-focused boat. I'm just going after getting these torps off as soon as possible. I'm even taking some upgrades on the speed, since the concealment really is the weak point of these torps. So if we can bump the speed up just a little bit, that means there's a little less reaction time for the target of these poor torpedoes. Yeah, we're taking concealment, of course. I'm also taking survivability expert. Notice I don't have last stand, since for the most part, I'm trying to take engagements that are, well, torpedo focused. This is really not something I recommend, though. If you're newer to destroyers, definitely be taking last stand. And honestly, for me, I should probably be taking last stand anyway. It's just a better skill. I'm just kind of greedy on this build, to be honest. On the equipment, I am running the ledge mod, as you can see here. Concealment, propulsion, again, more torpedo speed upgrades, and then main armaments and engine room protection. Trying to keep those alive as much as possible. Shimakaze is honestly excellent. I should play it more, but I just don't for some reason. Let me know what you think of this ship in the comments down below. I think it is still well worth getting. I really, really do believe that. This ship is immensely strong, and there's really not many ships like it in the game, which is another reason to get it. It's a very unique playstyle. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.